as the writers and actors strike rolls on and we are in limbo as to what's going to come out for the rest of 2023, we take a look at the current state of Hollywood, movies, TV shows, and video games. Let us go into the Bugle. Thank you for joining us on episode number 2 of Into the Bugle, a departure from our typical format of Last Page, where we typically review movies. We are taking a look at the latest headlines, trailers, and keeping us abreast of all of what's going on in a tumultuous time in Hollywood. I don't know how long this writers-actor strike's going to go on for. It seems like everything we were looking forward to and not looking forward to coming out towards the end of this year is probably going to get pushed to next year, like Dune or the Marvels. Seems like those are going to get pushed into 2024, so we don't know what we're going to be looking at, but there's still things that are coming out presently. This weekend, by the time this posts, it will have been the previous weekend, the Blue Beetle DC movie.
Host acquired.
Who said that?
Systems checking 3.
Okay.
Will be dropping. And let's start with that. A leftover before James Gunn took over the DC format. This movie looks like it's trying to be a Spider-Man, a homecoming Spider-Man-esque type of G. Willikers teenager and family drama ensues. Either of you gentlemen interested in this? Jason, you're the bastion of lovability of products and DC and Marvel and all these wonderful things. Are you excited for Blue Beetle?
I surprised myself with actually not being surprised at this. I thought I would be. I thought I'd be like, oh yeah, another cool little kind of superhero movie, but no. And I don't know if it's because the character is very like third tier. I think he was like, what was the cartoon Justice League one where it had like 50 of the Justice League people on every episode? I feel like that was the only time that I got to see this character, so I don't know much about him, but at the same time the trailer did not sell me very well. Like you said, it does feel like another Spider-Man coming of age, finding out my powers and having everyone in my family deal with it as well. So I'm good on that this year and probably next year and the next couple, so maybe if it comes out on Disney Plus I'll watch it, but no, I'm not running to the theaters.
Well, it wouldn't come out on Disney Plus because it is a DC
Oh, you're right, so that'll be
come out on HBO.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm not excited.
I couldn't be less interested in this movie. If I had gun to my nuts and I had to watch this movie or the Marvels, I would just let them blow my nuts off. I wouldn't even want to do either. Jesus, I mean,
pull the trigger.
Just pull it. There's nothing about this trailer. Just looks like the same hogwash that has already been shoved down our throat over and over and over again, and it's not even trying to be imaginative at all, other than it being a Hispanic family. It's just like, we're gonna do everything you've already seen before, but Hispanic this time. It's just like, okay, sure. Yeah, there's nothing about this movie that looks good. It looks very typical. The bad guy is just a stronger version of the good guy, and the good guy is finding out his powers in this comical way. Yeah, Jesus. Swipe.
It looks terrible. I mean, maybe the actors are great. It's got George Lopez, and so it's got some people that are recognizable in the movie. And Solo, and I apologize, I just don't know how to say his last name. Is this new kid that's the actor? Maybe he's great. I don't know, but it is just like you said, the thing we've seen over and over again. The trailer has a grandma with a Gatling gun on her hip. Now, if someone out there was a Blue Beetle fan and saw that, I would imagine that they just died 1,000 deaths. I mean, that is the level that they are stooping to in this. And then what's funny in the trailer is that at the very last part of the trailer, usually they have a very, like, trailers do this thing where they have like a funny line at the very end, and then they put the last credit thing on it. And it's just George Lopez saying, Batman's a fascist. And it's like, they did that just so people on the internet would be like, oh, you can't call the guy that beats up people in the streets with his bare hands a fascist? That's ridiculous. And it's just, that is what they're stooping to in just being like, please, like, clickbait, go watch this movie. we call Batman a fascist. Oh, you're mad. Go on. It's just terrible. It's terrible. It's not interesting. Let's move on. The show that's been in I'd say.
Oh well, hold on. Let's look up the reviews.
Oh right. So first, it's kind of disappointing. I was going to predict the box office for this movie, but then I looked up the budget of the movie, and in the title, it said the predicted budget was exactly what I thought of, which was I thought this movie was going to make $30 million this weekend, which would be terrible.
And that's the budget?
No, the budget's $120 million.
Oh.
But again, internationally, maybe this movie does really well in Latin markets, and internationally it makes its money back. Maybe. In the United States, this movie's going to bomb and bomb hard. But yes, the reviews for this movie just dropped minutes ago. So my prediction was that the Metacritic on this was going to be about 49. Yellow 49, not great, but kind of just in the middle of the road.
Okay, let's see. Metacritic?
Yes. Rotten Tomatoes is worthless, as everybody knows.
Has not dropped. Has not updated on Metacritic
Hold
yet.
on a second. I know
Has
my
not
Metacritic.
updated on Metacritic.
Come on, Metacritic.
Are you sure it's 10 a.m. today?
Oh, I know it's 10 a.m. today.
Oh. 64.
What? 65 out of 12? How many reviews are you seeing?
64 out of 8.
Okay, well, this is updated to 12 and says 65. That is much higher than I expected.
What did I say? I said it was going to be in the 60s.
You said 60. You were
I said
admitting-
60s. I said it
Did
was going to
you
be in the 60s. Yeah, I said
Oh, wait, okay.
60,
I said,
65. That's literally what I said. It's
to be
60,
fair, I
65.
said 49, which was a very bold prediction to say a number. You're like, it's somewhere between 50 and 100.
Congrats. Mine was actually right. So, yeah, I know. I thought this movie was going to get like some because I think critics are too stupid to actually accurately review what this movie is, and they're just going to be like, "Well, I liked it. It's fun. It's comedic."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the movie's great. Who knows? Maybe this movie's great, and we're
There's
just
only
painting a bad
8
trailer.
reviews, so maybe.
Well, the 12 is up to 65, but usually more positive reviews seem like they drop earlier, and then you get a little more negativity as the reviews unfold. But who knows? Maybe it's a great movie. So let us move on to a show that apparently not a lot of people watched, according to the rating reporters. But it was very talked about on the internet because nobody seems to like this show, and that is Secret Invasion. All 6 episodes? 6 episodes came out, and it's a show of controversy in terms of how it handled its characters. I did not watch this show. You did not watch this show. Jason watched this show. I am aware of all the spoilers in the show because I just don't care at this point with Marvel, or at least their Disney Plus shows. But Jason, you watched this show through and through. Is it as disappointing as people say? Are there things about the show that you like? What did you feel about Secret Invasion?
Yeah, there wasn't much about the show that I liked. I really wanted to. Like, I was pushing through to the end that maybe this ending was going to pull something off. Clark, right? Emily Clark?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's probably one of the saving graces of the movie or the show. Samuel L., just like I said the last time, just wasn't pulling or bringing everything to the table. And I thought for a little while it was supposed to be his character was just so like over it, but now I feel like Samuel L. is over this character and playing it. So we'll see how he does in Marvels, because it's got to be about the same time who's filming that one and this one. Yeah, the ending was so fucking ridiculous. Like the fact, like, yeah, we're going spoilers, right?
Spoilers away.
I mean, so essentially the 2 bad guys infuse themselves with every single DNA of every person that was hurt during the final battle in Endgame with Thanos. So anyone who's hurt in that, we were able to collect any of their DNA and use that. And only person who had it was Fury, and he kept it, every one of those in a bottle, all mixed together. So we had this thing called the Ark or something like that, and the bad guys knew about this, and the whole point of the show was trying to get that so they could take all this in, become Super Skrulls, and use all these powers. And so the final fight scene is 2 of them both getting the power Skrulls and battling it out. And I actually had to rewatch it to just see there's multiple times where there's powers that are used of people who were not in that battle on Earth. Like, they couldn't even get that shit straight. Like, it was God, it was someone's powers that I was like, oh yeah, they weren't even in that battle. So we can put that up on the top. It was like 2 people, and we'll do the research later on it. But it's just stuff like that was like you guys were just trying to create this fair fight at the end, and like Groot's arm comes out, and then they use what was the other arm that like Drax? That was who it was. Drax's arm was on Emily Clark, and Drax was not in the final fight on.
Correct, you're right. No, yeah, he's dusted.
Yeah, because Guardians only ones was Rocket.
Oh, well, no, but he comes back. Actually, no, he does come back. Remember when they bring everybody through the portals?
Yeah, so yeah, talking about that fight, that one. Maybe it wasn't Drax's arm.
Yeah, no, because everybody comes back to life at that point. Everybody comes and then like Spider-Man's back to life, and then they all swing through the portals and then have the fight there at the complex.
I did watch Screen Rant. I need to know that guy's name. Screen Rant that does the pitch meetings. I did watch his pitch meeting for Secret Invasion, which is hilarious, and everyone should go watch that. But he was making fun of that specific scene and pointing out that that yes, there are multiple characters that
Ryan George.
That's the guy? Are you sure?
Yeah, it just didn't feel very like figured out there at the end of the show.
But he made fun of that there's multiple characters that they take powers from that aren't in that scene. And then Drax's arm, it's like, why? He was like, if it's their DNA, how did the arm get all of Drax's tattoos? Things like that are just that a lot of these powers or things that they take would not be tied to DNA.
And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the old school Fantastic Four Super Skrull, which was like 4 parts of his body. Whereas like one section was flaming our Human Torch, one was Invisible Woman. It's like I understood what they were trying to do. They just didn't pull it off well. And now to have her running around the MCU, she is now the most powerful person ever. She has everyone's powers. I mean, they're not really letting us know the limits and the what this Emily Clark can now do, because I mean she is essentially has Miss Marvel's powers on top of all these other people that were in the fight. So there's a lot of loose ends they need to tie up, but it was another one of those shows that could have no one watched, and there's no repercussions of the Marvel universe. So it's another one of those where they were just like, we want to have this fun thing, but nothing was accomplished. The whole Don Cheadle, right? Don Cheadle? Is that the right actor? About the fact that he was a Skrull, but nope, he was still alive the whole time. So now he's back, and everything is just going to be right as it was when we started the show. So it was just a little disappointing that this show didn't have more weight to it. But I've come to figure that out now with the Marvel Universe. They're so scared of making shows that you have to have watched everything else, to get what's going on. And that's what I love about comic books. But I know they got to dumb this down so the average consumer can come in and watch the show, have a good time, and not have seen 20 years worth of stuff to figure out what's going on. So, I'm not going to recommend the show to anyone, and I'm upset that I sat through the whole thing.
I don't know if you know all the spoilers.
I know that Don Cheadle. I know that basically there's at one point everybody has a scroll version of themselves, and Don Cheadle's like the big one where he was allegedly a Skrull ever since Civil War.
Yeah.
Which makes literally no sense.
Yeah. It's like when he stopped walking around using the leg braces, I guess, because this whole show he's not acting at all like he broke his back in Civil War, because that's the whole thing too. It's like there was multiple times where Don Cheadle, I think, was even in another movie, and he wasn't wearing those like robotic legs or whatever that Tony designed for him at the very end, I think, of Civil War, or one of those ones. But I mean, there's multiple, but yeah, Don Cheadle was the bigger one.
But the funny thing with that is, in Endgame, he is dragging himself when the bomb goes off, when Thanos essentially nukes the complex and they're underground, he's crawling because he can't use his fucking legs.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just like, oh, why wouldn't he be using his legs?
Yeah, if he's a Skrull at that point.
Yeah, so exactly. If he's a Skrull, then why can't he?
He's method acting.
I mean, all the way through, like,
I might die, but I'm going to keep this act going. It's very impressive. Very Christian Bale would be proud.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was very disappointing with a lot of that stuff where, the bait and switch. But, no, not one of the better Disney Plus shows.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when the you have Sam Raimi and the writers of Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange movie, when they admit that they didn't even watch or read the scripts of WandaVision, Like when the people making the movies and shows aren't giving a fuck about the others things to make it make sense, and apparently Feige's not like going to be a stickler and hold people accountable to. It's an impossible task, and they've already admitted this because Bob Iger, the head of Disney, has already admitted this, and this is why they're going to be slimming down Disney Plus and all the amount of shows that they release because A, nobody's watching these shows, and B, they're not good. So, and the budget, like we said last time that we talked about this, budget was over $200 million.
Yes, I saw that number. Like this was bigger than any of the movies that, like the Barbie or like Oppenheimer or something like that. The budget on this 6-episode series was so fucking huge, inflated. What? I'm gonna keep saying it. Words.
It's Oppenheimer.
I will not be controlled by the word.
Jason, I'll come to your defense. Even though I do believe, yes, and understand it is Oppenheimer, there are plenty of words where OPP is open, opposing, opponent.
With O's, we're going and E is like a soft E. And O is much more O.
Hey, dude, tomato. It's my regional dialect.
No, it's not your regional. It's your ignorance, Jason.
Mav is being very ethnically discriminatory right now against people born and raised in the South.
Anyway, yes. So,
but yeah, the budget, the Secret Invasion, is so inflated, and it did not pull off what the money and the actor. I mean, most of the budget was Samuel L's paycheck. I think like half of the whole budget of that show was to pay Samuel.
He got paid. I saw he got paid more as an individual than all the other main actors combined.
Yeah,
but back to the comic book thing, and I totally understand it. I've got thousands of comics behind me, and when you get to 900 of X-Men, you're like, and you pick that up as a new consumer, you're like, oh wow, I've got to read 900 comics before this to figure out what's going on. So I understand that, but that's why they keep redoing number ones every couple of years. So you feel like you're on the cusp of it, but I think what they need to do with MCU is break it into phases. Like you need to watch everything within this phase. Like the first thing in that phase does pertain to everything else in there. Now, you don't have to watch all the phase 2 or phase 3, but I feel like they should have been a little bit more a tighter package on each phase and give those individuals that did take the time to watch that Disney Plus series to catch that little cameo in the movie and be like, oh, I know what that is because I watched that. It's fun to do that.
So, the internet and everyone agrees that Secret Invasion, not a good show on Disney Plus. A lot of not good shows on Disney Plus. However, they do have good shows not made by them, but imported from previous administrations. Netflix, for example, which is something that you're rewatching. You're rewatching the Netflix series Daredevil. Before they started making their own, Disney Plus started making their own shows, Netflix was licensed to make multiple superhero shows, the best of which, I would say easily, would be the Daredevil show. How is your rewatching of Charlie Cox as the Man with No Fear?
So good. It's especially in comparison to what the Disney Plus shows have put out, it just feels like night and day. It feels like this is mostly adult content, but teenagers could watch it. Like, I don't know if I'd let anybody younger than a teenager watch this show, but it's the characters are well thought out. The story feels so nice and small scale because it's just about this one part of New York. It's not the Kingpin is just trying to control Hell's Kitchen, not take over the world, not eviscerate the universe. He just wants to control this little area like a good mobster would. And the Vincent D'Onofrio's performance as Kingpin is stellar. He knocks it out of the park. The psychopathic tendencies and the backstory for his character and everything is done so well. The only real the only gripes are like it does have a couple of moments that are corny. But the fight choreography is really cool and very just like kind of old school martial arts. Stick is awesome. Scott Glenn is so dope. And I watched an interview of his talking about getting that role. It was really funny. So he's like, he didn't have any projects. His agent calls him and is like, hey, Marvel wants you to come on to be this mentor, this character. He's a mentor for a superhero. And Scott Glenn was like offended. He was just like, what? You want me to be some lame old mentor that sits behind a desk? He's like, no. And he got so upset that he went on this, like, he ran up a mountain behind his house. He runs up a mountain and he like hurts his hip a little bit. And he's just like fuming. And then he comes back down and he's just like, fine, I'll read the fucking script. And he reads the script and he's just like, wait, he's a blind assassin with none, like, he uses weapons? He's like, this is awesome. And then he got like super hyped on the role and accepted it. But his initial response was just like he was offended that they were going to give him this old blind guy. And
Legend of Kung Fu. What was the show that he was in the like 90s or 80s? Do you remember this?
Before my viewing time.
I know what you're talking about because he talked about it. It was on a GQ interview.
Yeah. So what's his name?
Scott Glenn.
Great character actor. Goes back to the right stuff. He's great in.
Is he in Platoon or is it?
He's in a lot of movies, but the one I'm thinking of is
his IMDb is huge.
Training Day.
Training.
He is one of the crooked cops in Training Day. He is awesome. Playing outside of Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke in that movie. But a lot of great movies Scott Glenn is in, and he does kill that role. Great show. I have not rewatched it, but it's one of those shows that you watch, no problem. Watch the first season, second season. They introduce into that show the Punisher, played by John Bernthal. Him, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Charlie Cox, all just amazing performances. In a superhero show before Disney Plus came along, and they're just like, we're going to make shows about every niche character. Can't you wait to see Agatha? Can't you wait to watch a show about that tertiary character from that other show? Like, before all that nonsense, you got this cool show with violence, gore, amazing choreography, really cool character progression, good villains. Jigsaw shows up later. It is a show that I would definitely recommend. Will I rewatch it soon? I don't know, but it is an amazing show for sure.
When in the third, it's in. I think it's the second or third episode. When I think it's the second episode. Yeah, like it starts off with a guy smashing another man's head in with a bowling ball. I was like, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this show is for real. Like, I did not expect that from a Marvel show. And then in the next episode, the same guy impales his own head with a spike. It was like a broken off spike, and instead he gives up the Kingpin's name, and he's so terrified about it that he jumps and impales his own head on a spike. Incredible. The gore is beautiful. It just feels good to watch a Marvel show that's like actually dark and being like, oh, it's like it feels more of something you'd see in Batman. But definitely worth the rewatch, and it just goes to show that one of the worst things to happen to Marvel is the Marvel's Writers Program. The program that Disney started to teach young up-and-coming writers how to write Marvel films is one of the worst things one of the worst decisions that they've ever made. Because now if you go and you look at the writers for any major Marvel project, you'll have, like, take Thor and Love and Thunder, for example. There's two writers accredited. There is Taika Waititi, however you say his name, and some rando, no name, never done anything girl. I don't know her name, but it doesn't matter. She is from the Marvel's Writers Program. So what Disney does is they take writers in, they teach them, oh hey, this is the exact formula that we use to write Marvel movies. And then they make them write rough drafts and edit, and then they have the main writer, Taika, come in and work on the rough draft. And so you get this weird mashing. They did this with Thor, they've done this with the Eternals, they've done this with Multiverse of Madness, which is why Sam Raimi and you can tell there's two totally different visions smashed into one movie. And it's such a mess because these people are that's why everything is so formulaic, is because there's no originality. They're like, oh, this is the exact pattern we're supposed to use to make Marvel movies. And now they have just stuck with that. And this is post-Endgame is really the big problem. Everything post-Endgame is just cookie cutter, formulaic, everything's the same, everything is safe. And it shows, and that's why Multiverse of Madness is one of the best movies we've gotten, probably the best movie we've gotten post-Endgame.
No.
What do we get?
Spider-Man.
That's Sony. That doesn't count. And so, but that's as far as having something original that felt real. And so that's And so Secret Invasion is just more to that point of just like everything is safe, doesn't matter, the writing isn't good, not well thought through, and that's just the state of Disney. And it's going to be that's the hell that we're in for until things get so bad that they actually have a true bomb, like a movie bomb, and then maybe things will change.
Or this writer's or this whole strike thing going on. Maybe that'll read.
All that means is we're all going to pay. Some people that pay for streaming services are going to pay triple for their service. That's all. The consumer is going to pay for that. That is the only thing that's going to change.
Still, there's a supply and demand aspect. If you made Disney Plus $50, no one's going to pay for that except for the Diz tards. I will correct you though. It is Sony is they like gave the MCU and Disney the permission to make the movie. I do believe that Disney's more in charge of that than say Sony is in charge of the Across the Spider-Verse movies. However, but anyway, Jason, yes, your thoughts on all this?
What, Daredevil stuff or the MCU thing?
State of the DCU or the MCU.
Well, first, your thoughts on Daredevil as a show, and then you.
I mean, you did just Spider-Verse, and I rewatched that yesterday because it's now on Prime, and
you watched something other than Mario for the 35th time?
Yeah, no, now I finally got to sit here and pause on all the screens, on all the shots on Spider-Verse, and be able to see who that was in the background, and it was fun.
I'm just imagining you just being like, enhance. And
I do say that, and I make that noise, over the remote control, enhance. But yeah, no, I think Moon Knight was the first one for me that I realized where they had such potential to, make this a cooler, bigger, better thing. But they're like, nope, we're going to keep this real straight and narrow, really, well, you don't want to make anyone have to think too hard on this stuff. So trying to think of what the next Disney Plus project is in Marvel, because I've just been concentrating on the Star Wars stuff that's been coming out lately.
I think Agatha Coven of Chaos or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be coming out relatively soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, because it just feels so disjointed at this point. Loki season 2 probably.
Oh right, yeah, that's also
the next thing.
Yeah, that actually is coming out soon.
Yeah, so that's actually the next thing I'm pretty interested in, and I mean, this multiverse stuff has gotten pretty crazy at this point, and I mean, we need some sort of ending. And now with the Kang thing being just kind of drawn out, and is Majors even going to come back and play Kang? And like all of this sort of stuff. So it sucks that we don't have this like really cool like thing to look forward to at the end as we did with Phase 3. But I am not as excited about the MCU as I was last year, and then us going into this writer's strike thing doesn't make me any more excited and push it back. But there's a lot of other good stuff out there right now. I was just joking with my wife as there was like 3 or 4 things on TV right now that we want to watch, and they're bigger kind of things. So it's nice to be going into this time in the future. We know we're not going to have a lot of good new stuff for at least a year or two, that there is some stuff still on the back burner, but I am not interested in the MCU at this point. I'll stick to my comic books from right now, because X-Men's actually getting really good right now, actually in the comics, and that's actually what I'm even more excited about, which I even think that this break with the actors and writers strike is giving them more time to even concentrate on the X-Men and what how they're going to get introduced into the MCU and whatnot is going to be really cool. Now that they got all the rights, they can say the M word. They're allowed to even say the word mutant, because we couldn't even say that word up until now, until Sony got the rights. So it was so weird that we danced around the biggest part of the MCU, in my opinion, mutants and that whole side of it, So I know they tried to do an externals thing because they were allowed to use that word, or sorry, Inhumans. Inhumans was the word that they were trying to kind of go towards and circumnavigate the whole thing. So at the moment, I'm not excited at all about the MCU. 2 years from now, I think I'll get that excitement back.
I mean, it depends on the quality of their content. If they came out with, and this isn't going to happen until the writer's strike and actor's strike is finished, because you're not even allowed. And that's part of the reason why Blue Beetle was coming out this weekend. I was like, oh yeah, it's coming out this weekend. I didn't even realize it, because nobody can do any promotions. You can't do anything. So we're not going to get any announcements with the X-Men until this is all wrapped up. And that really would be the only way to get people reinterested. If they nailed the casting of the new X-Men and got people excited about who plays Professor X or Magneto or Wolverine, if you got some coolness, and I think he is far too large to play, and I'm guessing by Marvel and Disney standards too old, but if they were just like, fuck it, Henry Cavill is Wolverine, it would just be like, all right, I don't give a fuck. I'll watch every single Marvel. I'll watch all of the X-Men. Take my money. That would be something like, if they come out with some big guns like that, then that could get me re-interested in.
I felt that way with Fantastic Four. I was starting to get excited about some of, like, when they announced Driver, actually, Adam Driver as possible Mr. Fantastic. I was like, ooh, that sounded better than Buddy from The Office.
John Krasinski.
Yeah, it's like he did not excite me, but yeah, you're right. It does when you start hearing those actors' names start coming up. Yeah, you get a little more excited.
All right, so that's what we're watching. But what are we playing?
Wait. I've got one more really good show that I need to talk to you guys about.
Is it really good or is it anime?
No. I mean, there's actually the anime season's pretty light right now. There's only a couple shows I'm watching. In summers, typically, they don't push as the big animes because they know all the kids are outside playing. But no,
Wait, say that again?
That all the kids are outside playing.
Wait, so you're telling me, and I don't know this, you're telling me for the first time, that they make the anime schedule based on the school seasons?
No, it's summer, fall, winter, spring seasons in anime. So
seasons.
Yeah. So it's 3-month seasons is how anime works, and so it's the fall season, winter. So we're in the summer right now, and like when we're like episodes 6, 7, 8 on most stuff. So we're like in the middle towards the end, and then because animes are only 12 episodes, so it's just 3-month chunks, and it's like 50 animes get released every 3 months. It's crazy. You got to sit there and be like, which ones am I going to watch, and they do this whole, like, you can watch videos and read reviews on what the top ones are, but I mean, I'm very narrowed in my what I like in anime, because we're talking like girl power ones and rom-coms and mech stuff, and I am very much into the beat 'em up and lots of blood and gore kind of animes, and so there's usually only like 5 or 6 of those every season, and even some of those are weird, so it's whittled down to like 2 or 3 every season I'm watching. So but no, we can do a whole show on anime, and I can explain all of the...
I'm sure there's a great show about a sentient toaster that's friends with a dog that is the reincarnated grandmother of...
Ooh, that's my favorite anime right now. That's so good. You nailed it. Yeah.
Me and my toaster.
No, actually, I think there is one this season. Is I am a vending machine, reincarnated as a vending machine stuck in a dungeon. I'm not even joking you. That's the level that it goes to.
Come on, man! Like, you're shooting Coca-Colas at the jailer to get out.
I'm making that up, but you got to put a screenshot of that anime up on TV. It is ridiculous.
I am Jack's vending machine.
Exactly. But no, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk
about greatness.
Dude, it's called a Jury Duty. Did you guys hear about this at all? Jury Duty?
I did, with James Marsden.
Yes. So this is I got a reality hoax sitcom. And so this is every single person in the show is an actor except for one person. And he thinks that he's on a real jury duty, but it's actually a documentary of how jury duties work. So it's by the writers of The Office. So it's like very Office, where they do their time with the camera.
Michael Schur?
I'm sorry?
Is Michael Schur part of it?
Michael Schur.
He's the guy who basically was a writer and producer for The Office and Parks and Rec and The Good Place.
I'm not sure, but they did have like some people attached from The Office on this, and you think it's just going to be very just like normal, but they throw out so many curveballs at this guy, and the fact that James Marsden plays himself, he is an actor, and James is the best in this because he plays a little bit douchey version of himself.
That's right.
High horse, and I mean, that's great, and it's quick.
Because he does play himself. Like, he actually is James Marsden, the actor.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And he's actually not a jury member. He's an alternate. And so he kind of like sits on the side, and he gets like a script for his new show that he's going for, and he'll be like reading it in the corner and be like, oh, it's a jump scare in the script. I'm sorry, everyone. And it's like things like that. I mean, but he nails it. But the best part of it is the actual guy. Ronald Gladden is his name, and just normal dude. And I guess they did some screening or interviewing for this role. I think that my wife said something like 20,000 people like wanted to be on this jury duty documentary thing. But they took this like good old boy who doesn't really know a whole lot about the world, you can tell, and he is just so endearing. And are you guys, I mean, spoilers or a little bit? Okay, let's just this is a light one. Just this character and how the show kind of works and stuff like that. So they have this kind of like little party in a field, and James Marsden's upset that I think that he doesn't get the role, and so he comes up and he like flings the cake into the air and everything like that, creating a scene. And the main character, this Ronald guy, is like upset about it. Like he's cleaning up the cake on the ground and like trying to like console everyone and all this sort of stuff. So the producers are like, okay, we need to change it. And James Marsden, you need to come back with a new cake and apologize because you've actually like hurt this guy and things like that. And we're going to change the direction where this like show is going to go because of how he reacts. And the final episode is very much of them going back to the whole series and showing you how they had to change stuff. And it's during COVID times too. So they had to do a lot of lockdown COVID things and sequestering and the whole jury, but I cannot say enough good things about this show because it's just such a feel good and such a different format. And I mean, we crushed the whole like 8 episodes I think in one sitting because it's one of those ones where you just want to keep figuring out the next one. So different than any of the other shows that I'm watched or watching, and I'm so glad that I and then 4 Emmys or something like that already nominated for a bunch of stuff. So it's gonna be the thing that people are talking about, I imagine, here soon.
Yeah, I have heard good things about it.
It was fun. I definitely would watch that.
You are a Parks and Rec, and you like all those shows that I find not that funny.
Yes.
But you like all those shows, so maybe it is up your alley.
Probably. I was gonna say if it sounds wholesome enough.
Yeah, definitely is. That feel good. Opposite from The Bear, that's the other show that I was finishing this week, and The Bear. Actually, I think I talked about it last time we did the Bugle. Yeah, but it finished up, and it has one of the most anxiety-inducing episodes, and I think it'll go down in history as the worst Thanksgiving any family ever has to deal with, because it is one episode straight up about this family having Thanksgiving, and it ends with someone driving a car through the actual wall into the Thanksgiving table, and like John Bernthal, Jamie Lee Curtis, Bob Odenkirk. And then what's the other guy? His name's Eben Moss Barack, Oliver Platt. Like this cast that they start getting on, and Oliver Platt is so good at this. But everyone does such a good job, and the show ends so well. Where each episode they kind of break down this season as being focusing on individual characters a lot more. Everyone gets their kind of time in the spotlight rather than just the chaos of the restaurant. And the last episode is them finally like getting the restaurant open and having service. And of course that doesn't go well, and how they kind of get out of that. But it is being in the restaurant industry, and even being figuring out now that this is so much connected to the actual restaurant that I work for. The same guy who worked at my restaurant did a lot of this show. So it's very, very cool to see a lot of the nuances, but also it's a cool restaurant kind of show. So 2 totally different shows, high anxiety and feel good, but they both kept me entertained the past couple weeks.
Video games. I would say this year is perhaps the last couple of years have been excellent video game years. I feel like there's always years where you get a lot of disappointing games. But this has been a great year. There was God of War that came out, and a game that I've been currently playing on the PlayStation 5 would be Marvel's Midnight Suns, a turn-based card game, strategy game in which you play as kind of your typical roster of Marvel characters: Spider-Man, Wolverine, Blade, Captain Marvel. You play as all these different characters, and you accumulate cards and different powers that you have to figure out. Which card do you play, and you move around the map, and you can send your characters around to, you're fighting Hydra or different villains, and it's a pretty cool game. Is it perfect? No, it does suffer from the narrative is kind of you're going after. I forget who the demon lady is you're going after, but it's kind of generic schlocky, dialogue, and it's not very much the immersive experience that used to be like Ultimate Alliance. The first 2 games were especially the first game was really good. This is definitely more of the gameplay is fun and interesting. I've only played, maybe 5 hours of it. The gameplay is interesting, the story around it, and you play as this new character and who's constantly in between battles. You're going around the compound talking to different Marvel characters, getting power-ups, and it's kind of repetitive. So I would say it is definitely, if you're looking for a strategy game with the Marvel aesthetic, then it's worth checking out. for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely been. As I say, I'm a big turn-based strategy guy. I like taking an hour to make one decision. So I feel like it's very up my alley. But as I say, I've been backlogged on games, so it's kind of been hard to get to all the ones I want to get to.
Yeah, which games have you been in rotation?
Well, so I finally beat Hogwarts. I decided to burn through and just finish the main story. Story's whatever. It's not that interesting of a story, but gameplay is fun and also not that hard. It's really, I mean, I'm playing it on hard, but it's still not that hard. And yeah, I look forward to either this game being updated or future installments of that game. But what I've mostly been playing right now, then I made the switch from a relatively not hard game to the easiest game imaginable, and that's Pikmin. Pikmin is the easiest game. It's like, what I'm learning is that Nintendo refuses to make difficult games. They, like, their games are so easy, and they just make them easier and easier. Like, Pokemon has slowly over the years just gotten easier and easier for a lower and lower age demographic, and I feel like that's the case with all of their product. I haven't played Breath of the Wild 2 yet, Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's probably a very easy game, where it's like, and you, Jason, you can comment on this, but with Pikmin, it's very fun, and the reason I played is not for it being hard, but just for example, last Pikmin 3, there was an easy, medium, hard. This one, there is no difficulty level. It's just what it is. And it's fun. I like it. I like it because it's cathartic and it's just basic organizational challenges, and just like it's very easy and simple, and I like it for that factor. And the Pikmin are so cute. But I just feel like Nintendo, it would benefit from maybe a game where it's like actually felt like a challenge to play. Jason, do you feel like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom?
Dude, you're absolutely right. Like, but they kind of know their demographic, and I feel like they'll scare off a lot of their younger audience and kids if it gets too hard. But I think the perfect example is Super Mario 3D World. I started playing that, and it's so easy. I mean, just blasting through the levels, and then I was like, okay, I need to focus on getting the green stars every level. That'll make it a little harder for me. Then that wasn't even too hard. Then once you beat the game, then you get the star levels and all that sort of stuff that takes the levels and now ramps up the difficulty on everything. And I feel like that's Nintendo's angle, because Breath of the Wild, yep, you can run around and just, kill moblins in the field. But then if you want some challenge, then you go to the depths, or you go to some of the dungeons, or you kind of do that. So they make it very normal, the normal game very easy, and then you have to seek out those kind of harder aspects that kind of challenge you. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right, but I think that's the kind of angle on the easy hard thing. It's like you have to probably beat Pikmin first, and then you unlock the hardness, to come back to it. So yeah, that's what I feel like Nintendo's angle is.
Of course, you are lying to our audience because you claim that you want some challenge and difficulty, but I have tried with everything in me to get you to play Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
Oh yeah,
From Software.
Yeah,
which are incredible masterpiece games with very punishing difficulty. You'll literally want to stab yourself in the groin with that motion that you were just doing because it's so hard. You pull your hair out.
I have broken
challenges that you have to go through. You'll be fighting the same boss for months, and you'll come back and say more.
I have broken controllers over From Software games.
Wow. Yes. I really feel like I'm missing out, guys. What a great sell. I'll break my controllers and pull my hair out. That's the kind of experience I'm looking for.
No, Mav hit it on the nail on the head, because it is that boss will take you a month, but then the feeling you finally beat that boss, dude, you are walking on cloud 9 for like the rest of that day.
Until you play the very next boss, and then you're like, sick, I get to do it all over again. But then
once you beat that boss, you'll be on cloud 9 again, and you're
constantly. This is more.
Yeah, this is a drug addict's dream.
Oh yeah. Learning that how to get around that boss, and figuring out the nuances and things like that, and finally beating him. Yeah, and it taking a week of trial and error. It's fun. Yeah, it's different.
See, I did that with God of War Ragnarok, and even some of the last God of War too. But God of War Ragnarok, like the two final bosses, I play it on God mode, like the hardest mode that I can play. and there's the 2 final bosses that are like the final extra bosses, extra credit bosses, which are the Valkyrie Queen and the Berserker King. Those guys took me well over, between the 2 of them, it was probably about 2 months of just playing and then taking a break and then playing again and playing again and playing again. I put so many stupid fucking hours into playing and beating those bosses. Yes, it was satisfying, but do I want a whole game of that? No.
Yeah.
I want a game that I can reasonably progress through under challenge, but playing and just doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over again is dumb. And I want to be able to progress. I don't want to have to just do the same villain 100 times. That sucks.
Well, then I would recommend Elden Ring, because Elden Ring gives you the options of, it's an open world game, unlike the other From Software games. It's open world. There are a lot of optional bosses that are much smaller scale. It's not like the other games where it's constantly the next boss is typically harder than the last boss, and you just have to beat that boss to get to the next part. This game is much more open, and you have much more options with, okay, this boss is really hard. You can do a bit of, and it's not even grinding really, because grinding is much more, you're just going into the field and beating a bunch of shitty characters and trying to get a little better. This, you can actually fight smaller scale bosses, and once you do that, you'll find some bosses are really easy because you have progressed enough to make them very easy. So Elden Ring does give you the options. If you were to try one of the games, I would recommend Elden Ring, because you don't necessarily have to go down the one path in trying to beat the bosses. Even though the other games do give you more options, but the difficulty is much more of a steady progression.
Yeah, dip your toe in the waters with.
Come on, it's warm. It's warm. Use sirens. Get out of here.
The game I'm playing right now. It's funny that it's also it's defined as a rogue-like deck builder. And I feel like a lot of the games right now are putting the card element into games, as far as, because, I imagine the Magic the Gathering and what was the one from Blizzard? Hearthstone? Yeah, the fact that those two, such dominate the gaming mobile world, now other games are trying to take that card playing aspect of it. So, yeah, I had to put down Tears of the Kingdom for a little while and try something else, and Slay the Spire. And it's, roguelike, very quick. You can finish your run probably within an hour. Deck building along the way, kind of very create your own kind of character, but very easy to pick up and put down. And I think that's what I kind of needed right now, rather than the kind of an epic big game. So I recommend actually Slay the Spire. I think it's really cheap on Switch right now. It's like $5 or something like that.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, little indie game. I feel like both you guys would actually enjoy something like that. Very turn-based, very strategy, lots of numbers, lots of things like that. So yeah, it's funny. It's the old Final Fantasy kind of aspect of, I want to take an hour on my turn. I want to figure out what I want to do. I don't want to be rushed on this shit. So I think we need a game like that every once in a while.
Any other news, tidbits, games, anything else to before we wrap up?
Oh shit, dude! I tried watching Heart of Stone last night.
Oh, with Gal Gadot.
Dude, trying to be Mission Impossible, but like the C level of Mission Impossible, where it's the guy in the chair.
Easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, dude, and Gal.
I can't help quote that guy.
Dude,
I'm always quoting that guy.
I use it all the time too, but it's just like at this point we're almost stealing his
no,
shit.
it's a tribute. God, what am I referencing?
I missed it.
It was a tribute. Or no, I'm thinking.
It's just a tribute. You gotta believe.
I'm thinking of in Tropic Thunder when he's like, you stole their story. He's like, you made up that story. I wrote that book as a tribute. I'm a patriot. Yeah, I'm tributing him, of course. It's like quoting Star Wars. At this point, quoting YouTubers is a canon. It's a canon event. It is like quoting pop cultureness. It's quoting Kennedy. It's quoting Darth Vader. It's just, we have acknowledged this wonderful man.
Yes.
And great contributions to society. And yes, we're not claiming it as our own, but it is one of the greatest lines that has ever been used in the critique of intellectual property.
100%.
I like the canon event, the Spider-Verse reference. I'm glad that's now into.
Yeah, with all the kids that I work with at Parisi, it's they use that term all the time. They'll be like, "Oh my god, it's a canon event."
Oh, Jesse.
Yeah, but I didn't even.
Alpha.
I didn't even finish Heart of Stone. Actually, I turned it off last night. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna go to video
Wow,
games.
it was that bad.
Yeah, it just wasn't fun. I mean, it was so cheesy, such that kind of spy thriller kind of
Wait,
thing.
is this a Netflix original?
I think so. It's some streaming service original.
Yes, it's Netflix. Yep, it's their number one movie right now because that's usually exactly. It's like this is our
advertised.
So yeah, go watch it. It's number one, kind of thing. But I know it was not fun. I wanted to just have some Mission Impossible feel, but with Gal kind of doing it because I like Gal Gadot. There's not much that I.
No.
What, you do not like her?
Gal Gadot.
Gadot. Oh, okay. Hey, dude, words do not control me.
She is a Israeli actress, and I think it's appropriate that we refer to her by how she prefers her name to be pronounced. Jason, do you have a problem with that? Yeah. So you would not recommend Heart of Stone.
Do not recommend it.
To bring everything back to the writers and actors strike, I really hope out of this, and the latest news that we got was that the studios were talking about possibly giving the writers access to their numbers, because that's the big thing. The streaming services do not have to reveal their numbers on who's actually watching the shows and movies and whatnot. I'm hoping, and I know it's a pie in the sky, but I wish that these numbers would become public. It would not only benefit the writers and actors and everybody that, because knowledge is power, and then you can use that in negotiations. You're figuring out how much you're getting screwed by not being compensated for your work. It is unfortunate that I don't think that'll happen, because if we got the numbers on who's actually watching this stuff, we would instantly know that the top 10 of Netflix is complete bullshit, and they just push whatever they think is whatever properties they have that they want people to watch.
I saw something the other day where it said this movie or show was streamed for 3 billion minutes.
Yeah, those numbers, I'm just like,
that's the number they're throwing out there. And then the writers received $3,000. I don't know what's that, like 3 billion to 3,000. I don't know. And minutes on what does that mean? Rewatching. So even if they do throw out a number, is like, what does 3 billion minutes mean to me? It's like, what is going to be the increments, or what we use this for is how many people actually watch it, how long you watched it for, how many minutes acquired watching it. It's silly that they haven't kind of figured this out yet.
I am in full support of the of unions and striking, and I think it's a fundamental American pursuit is joining with your team to being like, no, we deserve more. I fully believe it and support them. You know who I don't support? The fucking girl who's playing Snow White. Oh. Every word out of this woman's mouth is annoying. Oh my god, dude. I almost would single-handedly root for them to fail just so she doesn't get paid anymore, because I've never seen, like, her method of talking about her own movie is so trash.
It's bad.
She's just like every virtue signaling. Oh, like it's so obnoxious. I've never seen anybody try to tank their own movie harder.
Yeah, Jason, you haven't seen any of what you...
Oh, yeah, I don't know this. Yeah.
So this has become a cultural lightning rod of... And typically we, the last pagers, we avoid political talks because...
This isn't political. This is just about movies.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. That there's YouTube channels and the YouTubers and the critics, and there's people that talk about media and they just talk about the politics of it. And so it becomes like anytime there's something that's controversial, or there's like they change someone's race, or they changed a man to a woman or whatever, then it's a huge... content, and that's what a lot of people talk about, lightning rods. But this seems to have united the internet, where both left, right, center are not happy with Zegler. I know her last name's Zegler. Rachel Zegler is the actress who's playing Snow White. And before it was, people were certain people were upset because she's not white. The character of Snow White is written to be white as snow. She's a Latina actress, and then the 7 dwarves are not. There's 1 dwarf and 6.
Every part of the
planet, every type of person from every continent, and so it's just like that already had people like, what is this? Like, are you guys even trying to make a Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs movie, or are you just trying to make a movie for the people of the here and now? And but she has gone on a series of interviews where she comes off extremely entitled, very unlikable, and talks about how horrible Snow White from the 1930s cartoon, what a horrible representation of women that is, and how the prince is a creepy stalker, and how this movie isn't going to do any of that, and just things that it's hard to not get pulled into the fact that this is in the long line of it feels like, why are people that hate the properties that they're making, the original properties, the remakes they're making, why do people that hate those, why are they making them? And she was, in one of the interviews, she talks about how, and again, the writer's strike, very reasonable, realistic compensation for their work, health benefits, very reasonable things. And then she opens her mouth and talks about how hard it is to be in a princess costume for 18 hours. And the way she's saying it is just like, you are just coming off like an attractive person in her early 20s who is I'm trying to think of a proper word.
You're very privileged. You're
privileged.
Yeah, privileged. Like literally, you're in your early 20s and you're getting paid however many millions of dollars to star in a Disney movie that will launch your career. Like, it's just, woe is me, dude. Like, woe is freaking me. But, and so and not only is she just has committed to being an obnoxious person as herself, it's also hilarious, and it must be said that Disney, as you can see with the release pictures of one dwarf and 6 whoever's, they just it's constantly box checking, right? They are in the chase of, we want to have every diverse type of person we can have in our movie, so we can check boxes to show, wow, look how inclusive we are. And it's totally fake. Disney does not. Bob Iger could care less if it was 100 Latinos or 100 white people in his movies. He doesn't care. Money is the bottom line, and he just is trying. And that company just tries to pull on the heartstrings of diversity. They could actually keep this movie the same and make it super inclusive. Make a movie about 7 dwarves. A very underrepresented type of person and minority that there's not big popular movies made about dwarves. You can make it about these actual 7 dwarves and show it
7 dwarves from their perspective.
Yeah, from their perspective, and they don't have to be silly, goofy characters. You can make them more serious and make them actually have arcs or meaning and show the plight of what it's like to be a little person. But no, they're like, no, we're gonna scrap all that. We're just gonna put in all these different races. It's like they can't even fake inclusivity the right way. They can't even do it can't even fake it the right way. It's so obscene. Their attempt.
Is the one dwarf Peter Dinklage?
No.
That would be hilarious.
No, because the reason, I do believe, I could be wrong, but I in hindsight, I do believe that the reason why they went this route of 7 just people and 6 people and 1 dwarf, which they're all people, but you know what I mean, is because there was a comment made by Peter Dinklage who said talked about that movie and the fucking dwarves, and he talked about the representation of dwarves in the original movie, and I believe that's why Disney got scared and was like, oh, we don't want to have the stereotype of 7 dwarves and stuff, so then they went this route. And the movie, it comes back to, the movie will probably suck, like all these live action remakes suck, but if it makes a lot of money, it really doesn't fucking matter. And people can complain on the internet all they want, but Lion King made over $1 billion. People tried to say that Little Mermaid was a bomb, and I guess domestically you could argue that to an extent, but internationally made a lot of money. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's up to the audience to go see a movie or not see a movie. And if people are just like, I want to take my daughter to go see Snow White, well, they're going to take their daughter to go see Snow White. So what are you going to do? If the movie makes a lot of money, then it'll make a lot of money. And if not, the internet will rejoice and say, fuck you, Angel Jacob.
My daughter didn't even want to see Little Mermaid. She's more excited about the new Paw Patrol, I guess.
Your daughter's racist?
Yeah.
You can edit that out if you want. No, yeah, okay, funny. because we got to wrap this up. But
Why
funny,
isn't Little Mermaid white, Dad? It's her first words.
You gotta ask Bob Iger that, sweetie.
very nice, Jason. So funny, Monica watched the Paw Patrol movie. She watched the Paw
It's already out.
Okay, hold on. You're gonna give Jason shit for watching Bluey, but you're letting Monica get away with watching Paw Patrol.
She's getting used to watching these movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Expect another and all that.
So they
Monica watch movies.
watched the Paw Patrol movie. Jason, have you seen the Paw Patrol movie?
So there is a lot of Paw Patrol movies. Are you talking about like the CG
Yeah.
one? That like the yeah, it's more CG than it is actual. Like yes, the first one.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's better than the cartoons and things like that. Yeah.
Monica said it is deeper and better than the Mario movie.
I mean, there's definitely much more of a story, and yeah, like the character development part of it and things like that. Where like one of the puppies is scared, of heights or something along those lines, and him getting over that fear and things like that. So there's some much more character progression than Super Mario. So I could give it
Very
that.
justified. Very justified when she told me that, because I was just like, this has to be on the level of Paw Patrol. And no, I was wrong. It's not on the level of Paw Patrol.
Patrol's on a
I
level
love Paw Patrol.
It doesn't surprise me though. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, and it's not a movie that we've watched as much as Super Mario Brothers around here, but it's decent. Not better in my opinion. I will not say that. You'll not get those words out of my mouth, but I can see where the argument comes from.